The next, the collection between the Chinese corporate social credit system and IP protection is that the Chinese government is actively cracking down on malicious IP agencies, and the credit system is one of the government methods. And furthermore, these malicious actions will influence their corporate social credit ratings. Okay, let's start from the counterfeiting and corporate social credit system. Many foreign companies have already heard about Chinese corporate social credit system. Now I will just briefly describe here. Chinese corporate social credit system simply means that the new government collects information of all companies in China in various ways and then gives them a rating according to the collected information. If the rating is high, they will be listed in the red list, and the corresponding companies will receive incentives such as loan offers, next regulations, and so on. While if the rating is very low, or even if the company has some violations, such as untruthful information submitted to governments, then the company is placed on the watch list or blacklist and suffer some adverse consequence. The main two public platforms for searching such information are Credit China. You can look at the left picture. This one is the Credit China internet website. And the National Enterprise Publicity System is the right picture. Currently, the Chinese government is trying to establish a corresponding disclosure mechanism as part of social credit system, and the government more concerned in the food and drug, sanitary equipment, agricultural production, which are related to people's health and safety field. This is the latest disclosure of counterfeiting cases. The Tianjin Xinda Medical Trading Company and the Tianjin Kangxin Medical Trading Company sold the fake 3M masks. So therefore, the government decided that they were blacklisted. We would like to provide the suggestion for foreign companies regarding the Chinese corporate social credit system. Firstly, conducting risk assessments. It means that a company needs to know the new law, new regulations, and the government policy. More specific, company need implement the risk reduction measures. For example, avoid causing significant harm to the public interest. One more important thing is that regularly monitoring credit ratings. Your company can check the specific rating in Credit China and the National Enterprise Public System. I mentioned the two websites before. And when your company want to cooperate with some companies you don't know before or you haven't cooperated with them before, you also can check or monitoring on these two websites. Okay, let's get into the data security part. To some degree, data security law aim to protect the domestic information safety. However, at the same time, these laws are an instrument to protect IP, and they can prevent the trade secret or data leakage and hacking. Okay, in recent years, China has seen developments on data protection both in legislation and in practice. Recently, another significant draft law on data security was issued by the Chinese Legislative Authority on June 2020. The draft includes 7 sections and 55 articles in total, covering data security and industrial developments, the data security regulatory system, data security protection obligations, and government data security and access. We highlight the framework of the draft below. Section 1. Section 1 of the draft provides the applicable scope of the law. Under the draft, data activities are defined as the collection, storage, processing, usage. And the data security protection contains improvement of a data security management system, establishment of data security education, and training the relevant person. Refer to the government data security and access. The draft mentions the promotion of e-government and the government data publicity. Actually, before the draft, Shanghai already has the provided measures for opening public data in Shanghai. All companies in China must comply with the data security regulations. Organizations and individuals conducting data activities that fail to fulfill the data security protection obligations or take necessary measures will be subject to correction orders, or penalties ranging from RMB 10,000 to RMB 100,000, including penalty on individual directly in charge ranging from RMB 5,000 to RMB 50,000. Massive data leaks penalties ranging from RMB 100,000 to RMB 1 million. Also including the penalty on individual directly in charge ranging from RMB 10,000 to RMB 100,000. Unlike other countries, Chinese data security system have the penalties on individual directly. And also the new civil code. According to the new civil code, the basis for civil actions in case of data breaches, the personal data. As for companies, it is estimated that once the draft comes into force, it will constitute a significant part of China's legal framework on data security. As for company, they need to set up a corresponding cybersecurity compliance system, including the legal compliance, safety management, and data management system. The classification system means that the normal data, important data, and other data. So the compliance systems should also be established as early as possible, allow companies to expand and grow their future business, keep update with the new regulation and standards. Okay, on May 28, China's National Legislature, the National People's Congress (NPC), approved a decision to introduce a national security law in Hong Kong. The national security law have some impact on Hong Kong. So, like the U.S., announced that they will revoke of Hong Kong's special trading standards with the U.S., and the upcoming passage of national security law will speed up the drafting process of the amendments, which would facilitate wider law enforcement access to personal data in Hong Kong. And the Australia also concerned about the stable of their FTA Australia Free Trade Agreements, so which is related to an e-commerce supporting the free flow of financial data. And we also and this law also will have affected the following companies: the internet company and the financial service providers and the data center operates in Hong Kong. It also including the server in Hong Kong. Therefore, we would like to recommend this kind of companies to consider the data compliance issues. Okay, this is my part. For the next part, my colleague will introduce more enforcement.
Thanks a lot, Queenie. Excellent presentation. Let me finally give you some practical tips how to enforce the law. So as you know that many companies, Western companies, have problems to enforce the law. They win a lawsuit, typical between 80% and 90% of the IP-related lawsuits are won by foreign companies. But the point is that the infringer do not stop infringement, though nothing happens after the lawsuit. So what can we do to solve the problem? The first tip is do a careful research of the defendant's assets. He has lots of assets, money, houses, cars, whatever, machines. And you should research what he owns. Then you can freeze the assets and try to get the money. So in one case, we had the offer to get the cars of a counterfeiter, but the cars have been very old, 20 years old, and so he didn't accept this. Show the enforcement body the assets of the IP infringer. They will be active and try to get the money. Foreclosure is a method of enforcing the law. Use enforcement authority of the court's bailiff, for example. It is possible to start an auction of assets, but this is maybe risky. So be careful with these methods. The infringing trademarks, for example, are on the market and available for other infringers. Access to financial accounts. We are able to access the account, for example, together with Alipay. You need to address them and show them your judgment, and then they are forced by law to act. One possibility is to settle an out-of-court settlement. This is quite good if the case is not so hard. But to be frank, that many of our clients do not accept this. They run the hard strategy to fight against infringers. Filing a complaint against further acts of infringement, make pressure and maintain the pressure. Do not stop after winning a lawsuit. Or destruct molds. The authorities will go to the infringers' work rooms and infringe molds for fake products. As Queenie told you, an interesting possibility of enforcement is the corporate social credit system. And counterfeiter will be noticed in the system. So this is good for losing the face or damage his reputation. We should not underestimate this possibility, but be aware that if you don't act, if you don't take measures against counterfeiting, if you do not have anti-counterfeiting activities, you can also land in the system. So the Chinese state government is forcing companies to guarantee that the market is clean. So this is a double-edging sword, but a strong instrument. An indirect measure is to disrupt the supply chain by informing suppliers. If the counterfeiter do not accept the lawsuit, the judgment, or do not react, we can address his suppliers and say, hello, your customer acts illegally, you should immediately stop the supply. Otherwise, you could also go to court. The same is for distribution channels. We permanently inform customers or potential customers, dealers and online marketplaces about the infringement of IPR. So most of them react. We have very good experience. Most of customers of the infringer stop buying fakes. Last but not least, a broad public relation in relevant media is interesting. So, you know, losing the face is not so good in China. So if somebody is publicly known as a IPR infringer, this is not so good for his business. And also we report fake certificates to authorities. Most IP infringers also fake papers, documents, for example, certificates. You can report this to other authorities to make pressure from another side. So the strategy is run a holistic approach, surround the infringer, make pressure and maintain the pressure, hold the pressure. If you want to have more information, up-to-date information about the latest developments in IP protection in China, we recommend to check our weekly blog, Thanks a lot for listening. We will send you the presentation and answer more questions individually by email. Thanks a lot and bye-bye.
Bye-bye.